This is TWiT.
This was Eddy at South by Southwest, and it was a pretty wide-ranging conversation. So, Renee, none of us have actually seen it unless you were at South by, but you got a pirated copy of it.
Yeah, I haven't transcribed all of it. I listened to all of it, but I only transcribed the part about Texture because that was the part I was super interested in.
Here's the other Apple News story. Apple News, according to Eddy Cue, Apple News users followed an average of 4 publications a year ago. Now that's up to 20. That shows people are using it, or they're desperate to just make it work.
CNN has 2 video excerpts up now, Leo. They have one about Texture and Netflix, and I forget what the second one is about, but they have 2 about 2-minute-long videos up.
Oh, good. Okay. He was asked, so was this a CNN event or just a regular South by event, or? It was promoted as CNN, but the Dylan Byers, who's a CNN host, right?
But he does a newsletter. I mean, all the promotion is going in the Pacific, which is his new newsletter. So I couldn't tell if it wasn't televised because it was a newsletter event. So
right.
It was very.
He said
it was asked, it would have been aired in some form.
Byers asked him about the NRA TV app on Apple TV. Q said, "It falls into Apple guidelines today, but if it changes while it's in the App Store, it can be removed. We also have pro gun control apps in our App Store. And, of course, the App Store won't let you buy or sell guns."
There was a really, really good quote he said when they asked him about the difference between Apple News and Google and Facebook. And I'll read a little bit of it because it was super good. He said, "Look, it's always hard to sit from the outside and talk about others. I do know that for ourselves, when we got into this, we think you have to have a large platform. There's a lot of responsibility. We've always taken a great deal of responsibility for our platform, starting with iTunes, the Music Store, the App Store, certainly Apple News and podcasts." So he said they had guidelines. People weren't happy with the guidelines. But he said the other part is that nobody is completely free. There is no such thing as free. There's no pornography on any of these sites. People draw a line, and you can decide where you want to draw that line. We do think free speech is important, but we don't think white supremacy is free speech. That's important.
When asked about the Apple original series deals they'd made, he says, "We're all in on entertainment, but it's about quality, not quantity." He also said, kind of cryptically, "There's a technology angle that will be a surprise when we add it to our service." This is
I think he was talking about how they were going to surface all of this content, and they're thinking of ways.
Yeah. We don't know anything about making television, Eddy says. Yep. But I took 2 years, but we found the right team to lead the effort. Those are those Sony guys that they hired. About 40 people working in original content at Apple right now.
The 2 to 8 minutes of video, because they asked him, he said that Jeffrey Katz, I think it was Jeffrey Katzenberg, was working on a 2 to 8 minute video service, and if that was revolutionary, and Eddy responded, "That's YouTube. There's nothing new about that."
Right.
Some shows, some formats are better to have like 30 minutes or 60 minutes or 2 hours because you can have rich character development and tell more elaborate stories, and other things are good for smaller 2 to 8 minute intervals, but he doesn't think one is going to kill the other.
He says car reviews, it's fine, not for what we want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, remember that Apple rarely comes into a market thinking that we're going to kill this competitor's product. It's basically, well, again, we're not going to beat. We have $1 trillion, but we're not going to beat YouTube at being YouTube because they're doing that extremely well. So we're going to do long form. We're going to bring people into the house there, and we're making money based on. We can make money based on 30-minute videos. Whereas with Google, it's more important for people to be consuming lots and lots and lots of content because more content means more commercial breaks, so to speak.
They also said that Apple because Apple's not dependent on advertising revenue, he suggested that Facebook and Google are incentivized to give you more of the same all the time because they're desperate to keep your attention because they want you to watch or to be there for as long as possible, where Apple can do things like show you things that you might not have thought that you'd like, things that are serendipitous, and they're not worried about losing you because they're not making revenue off keeping you locked on.
Yeah, that was one quote that really didn't strike home with me because YouTube, for instance, is all about trying to figure out what you would like to see next to keep you tuned in. Not so much we're going to keep loading your screen with crap and more crap and more crap. It's YouTube has its algorithms down good enough to understand that I started watching a lot of car videos a couple of years ago, but within short order it figured out that, oh, he's not like a big fan of like cars and engines. He likes engineering. He likes shows about people building things and solving problems. And so it does recommend interesting engineering solutions through cars. It will not show me Nürburgring crash videos 3 times a day. So that's one area where I didn't get
recommendation engines are notoriously bad. Actually, Zeynep Tufekci had a very good op-ed piece in the New York Times on Sunday in which she said, really, it's been her experience that YouTube gets more extreme. So if you watch left-wing videos, you're going to end up getting recommendations for conspiratorial podcasts and videos about secret government agencies and the 911 theories. If you watch right-wing stuff, you're going to get more and more extreme right-wing stuff. And I kind of agree with her that the algorithm seems to, this is her quote, have concluded that people are drawn to content that is more extreme than what they started with. It certainly is.
Extremism is sticky.
Yeah, it's certainly one way to get people to watch more is to kind of ramp it up. And it certainly explains why the content on YouTube is increasingly extreme. You know, you look at people like Logan Paul, they just have to go farther and farther each video. I don't know if there's, but the problem is YouTube doesn't reveal its algorithm, and this can only be an anecdote.
Yeah.
I think we've been talking about that. I think we've been talking about things about media becoming more and more extreme since reality TV started.
Yeah, you bet.
I think that
sensationalism is nothing new on television.
Well,
start with Morton Downey Jr. and
since Hearst and yellow journalism
and in newspapers. You're right.
Yeah, and I think that as far as the algorithms go, I mean, what I'm amazed at, I'm almost never touched by them. Like I go in to look for something, I go watch it, and then I leave. And so it's very rare for me to, I mean, with YouTube TV, I might leave it on a lot because it's just on and then it's like a TV in the background. But with YouTube itself, I'm there to find something. My kids, on the other hand, I watch them. They can watch Saturday morning for 2 or 3 hours and all they're doing is autoplay. Like they just sit there and it just plays one video after the other and they sit there and I would interrupt them, but most of it is like how to build stuff and educational stuff. Like I walked in on Saturday morning and they were watching breakdowns of how DNA is created and how it separates into its RNA and everything else. And I was like, yeah, they can keep on watching that if they want. So they, I'm surprised at how long they can just sit there and they don't ever touch the controller. They just sit there and just let it just kind of drone along. It's on Apple TV, and so it's probably more difficult for them to find something new anyway.
Technology, says Eddy Cue, in and of itself is not for good. The people that make technology have to make it for good. Okay. A lot of what he said was very on point. You know, he's an Apple executive. He's not gonna wander off the reservation.